I know for a fact that a lot of you are not going to make it to the end of this video. There are things that I'm going to share in this video that your feminine dating coach isn't going to tell you, and that men aren't going to tell you. Because these are things that are going to help you rewire your approach to dating, but it's going to require you to do something really big, which is take ownership and take accountability of how you're showing up. If men are ghosting you, if men are not committing after a period of some kind of dates or intimacy that's already taken place, and you're finding these men aren't committing, they're wishy-washy, they're hot and cold. Yes, there are men that are just avoidant, that are just fuckboys, that don't have their things together, and let's be honest, are just afraid of intimacy, are just afraid of real commitment. There is a pool of these men in the world, and there's a lot of them, honestly. But what's most important is if this is what you're attracting, this is the type of man you're finding yourself constantly complaining about to your friends, to your therapist, to your coach, online, then at some point you have to acknowledge that there's something that you're doing that's a part of the whole equation. That there's something about your energy, how you're communicating, what you're presenting, and how you're showing up that's leading men to do these things. It's if we're staying with just the all men are like this, men are terrible, men are afraid of intimacy, men aren't ready to commit, then at what point do you take responsibility for your own actions? At what point do you start to look at where you're a part of the equation? So this is what I mean. Your feminine dating coach isn't going to tell you this part. Because one, just hearing that these men are just afraid of you, your standards are too high, that might soothe your ego. That might make you feel good in the moment where you feel rejected. But at the end of the day, you are not dating women. You're not out here, learning all these things and, putting yourself out here to impress women. You're doing it to attract a high quality man. So if men don't share those opinions of the women that you're speaking to, the women that are applauding you and soothing your ego after you feel rejected or ghosted, then it's time to rewire your approach. Because most often men aren't going to tell themselves or tell their buddies that, oh, the reason I stopped dating this woman or the reason I didn't commit to her was because her standards are too high, or she asked too much of me, or because I'm afraid of commitment. There's a deeper reason that men do the things they do. And if you're relying solely on feminine insight and wisdom, which is great, but there's limitations to it is what I'm saying. So as someone who in the past was avoidant, was ghosting women, afraid of intimacy, afraid of commitment, and to be honest, was embodying some real fuckboy tendencies, I just want to give you all of the information and insights that you need to be able to stop this from happening in your connections, stop this from happening in your dating experiences. So let's dive in. So I want to start with sharing that throughout my years of dating women, I realized that I would categorize women into two buckets, into two categories. And I think pretty much most men, 99% of men, do this instinctively, unconsciously, or consciously. But those two groups are, one is this is a friends with benefits type of relationship. The second is this is a woman that I need to properly pursue because I want a serious partnership with her, because I can see myself growing with this woman. Now, I would know instinctively within the first 24 to 48 hours of meeting and speaking with a woman, which category I'd already placed the context and the dynamic of our relationship into. Within 24 to 48 hours, sometimes even less. Now you might be thinking, well, it takes more time than that to actually get to know somebody. How are you doing that within a 24 to 48 hour window? So for me, it was really based on what the woman was leading with. So for example, I and I think all men do this, is that when we're not ready for a relationship, we're going to tell you we're not ready for a relationship. Men do not lie about that kind of thing. If a man is not ready for a relationship, he will tell you, hey, I'm not ready for a relationship right now. I'm going to spend some time working on myself and improving myself. And then after that period, I might be ready to explore a deeper relationship with you. Men don't lie about that kind of thing. So when most women hear this, because they hear it often, sometimes in the car, after a date night, or sometimes after 2-3 months of dating the guy, you've already been sexually intimate, and then he gives you the script.
Hey, so I've been enjoying this time with you, but I'm not really ready for a relationship.
I know you've heard it before. It's a typical script. Almost every guy knows the script. But the reason we share this script is because it's on some level, it's actually genuine. It's actually genuine. The man that's saying that to you is not lying to you. He is not ready for a relationship, and he wants you to know that. But what he's also doing is checking to see your response. Your response tells him whether or not this is going to be a friends with benefits situation or not. Because what happens is most women hear this and they take it as a challenge instead of a cue and a signal to get the fuck out of there, to stop engaging with this man, to withdraw your investment of time, energy, and resources. That is what that is supposed to lead you to do. But what happens is women take this as a challenge. Oh, all guys just say this. I don't know what narrative comes up for women that leads them to want to still engage with this guy after he's already told them this. So this is what happens for a man after he shares that, and then he notices that the woman's actions are showing that she's still interested, she's still pursuing him, and that she's still engaged in the relationship. She's either going to wait it out, or she's still going to entertain the possibility of them going on dates, being sexually intimate, and him getting the perks of a whole girlfriend without the commitment. That is going to tell him one thing and one thing only. I can keep this woman in the waiting room. The waiting room is a gray zone. Maybe some of you women know it. It's a gray zone. That gray zone is a zone where you are not committed and you are also not strangers or just friends. You're doing all of the things of a committed relationship without the commitment and without the responsibilities. So he doesn't feel the responsibility to you from an emotional level. He might feel it physically. Sometimes he might even do things financially that are reflective of him being committed to you. But in no way has he ever communicated that he's committed to you. So men can keep you in this gray zone for years, as long as you're willing to stay there. So this gray zone is often called situationships. But the gray zone just means that you want something that he is not willing to give you. Your intentions do not align. You want a committed relationship, he doesn't. But you're okay with staying in this gray zone. So the reason that this is why, for myself and other men, will lead us to ghost a woman, to not commit to her. And the reason is because we didn't have to work for it. There's no commitment we had to make to be receiving the benefits and the perks that we're getting. And one of those perks is sexual intimacy. Men commit to the things that they feel that they've had an investment in. This is why so many men oftentimes go back to their ex over and over and over and over again. Sometimes they will even start the relationship, end the relationship, try to start it again. And the reason is because they're battling with the fact that they've invested so much into this relationship. Years, finances, resources, blood, sweat, tears, big moments and breakthroughs with this one woman that they're not okay with just walking away from it. because they have been committed. They've seen themselves commit. They've seen themselves invest. It's not an easy thing for a man to do, to just walk away from that. So it's very uncommon for a guy to ghost a woman or to not commit to her if they're in the middle stages of dating. They've been together for a long time. They've spent a lot of time together. Ghosting feels like the better option because I've invested nothing into this woman. I don't really know her at a deep level. All I know is that we have great sexual chemistry, or I like the way she looks, or we have interesting conversations. If I have not invested my heart and my time and my energy, I'm more likely to ghost the woman. So the women that men often take the time and set the intention to properly pursue and court are women that make a man feel these three things. One is that she will not be a headache. This doesn't mean that she's going to be easygoing or she won't be complicated. What I mean by headache is that she's not combative or offensive or openly disrespectful to men in general. And this is often evident from a woman that has a very cynical view of men. She has a cynical view of men, uses labels like all men cheat, all men are trash, all men are this. This is going to inform a man that this woman is going to be a headache. Why? Because at her baseline, she does not respect men and she does not honor men. So she's going to have a very hard time knowing how to communicate in a way that is respectful to a man. If a woman does not know the baseline communication standards for how to communicate with a man that she's interested in or that she's with, she's going to be a headache. Every man knows that. She's going to be a headache. She's going to have to constantly tell a grown woman how to properly communicate to a man. Now, this is not something men are signing up for. This is also evident by the fact that many men will tell you they're not interested in dating a masculine woman. They're looking for a feminine woman. What they mean by that is the communication style and the embodiment that she has about her. Because a masculine woman is going to communicate to a man like a man would. She's going to be very critical. She might be judgmental. She might be argumentative and combative with him. That's a world of suffering and pain for any man, especially if he has a business that he's running and other responsibilities that he's attending to. That is not something that he's going to consciously sign up for. Now, the feminine woman doesn't mean that she's easygoing, she is free and easy to manipulate or abuse. It means that she knows how to lead with her heart. She knows how to inspire a man rather than try to demand and to dictate or control him. She displays feminine grace and she knows how to get her needs met by leading from her feminine gifts and instincts, which are through praise, appreciation, encouragement, and inspiring that man. No matter what pain that relationship comes with, if the woman is displaying that off the bat, a man is going to realize that this woman is going to add to his peace. She's going to amplify his peace. No relationship is easy, but he's going to know that this is something that's worth his investment. So the second thing is that a man wants to feel that he can win with this woman, that he can build with her. This is part of why he needs a woman that is not a headache, isn't going to be a headache in his life, because he wants to know that he can build and win with her. So when a man feels like he can win and build with a woman, everything else feels possible for him. He feels like he can conquer the world. He feels like this is going to be something that's going to help me elevate my life, step deeper into my purpose, and really protect, like take all these things that this relationship helps me do in the world to give back to this relationship, to give back to this woman, to give back to our family.
Because when I'm with you, it goes away. And I'm calm. When I'm with you, I can do great things. And the darkness does not overcome me. I can't explain it.
That's what he wants to feel. He wants to know that all of those things are possible with you. And the third thing is a man wants to feel that he can connect to this woman beyond hobbies, beyond interest, and beyond the superficial stuff. When a man feels like this woman has depth, there's more to her than her pretty face or the fact that we both are into these kind of books, or we like to hike, or we like to travel. There's much more to her. He's gonna see that this is something I need to invest in. So immediately the man's mind is going to start to translate and categorize this woman into, this is someone I can build with. I need to properly court this woman. Now, how does he know all of this? It's based on what she's leading with. If she's leading with one, sexuality and sensuality off the bat. Let's say I invite her out to a date and she wears something very sexual and sensual to the date. That, again, it's already a cue and a signal for a man. If I meet her and I connect with her initially on Instagram, and I go on her Instagram and everything on her Instagram exudes sexuality and sensuality, my mind as a man is already beginning to put her into a specific bubble and category because it's what she's leading with. If in our conversations, I'm going to test her, all men do this. They try to steer the conversation in a sexual direction. If the woman allows him to go full caveman, which is where he's just talking about his lust, he's speaking from his animal primal nature, within the first 24 to 48 hours, then again, she's allowing him to not only lead the conversation into that area, but she's also playing into the dynamic. Now, this makes sense if that's all you want. Now, this is completely fine. It's completely fine if you met the guy at a club, you met him at a bar, you met him on a dating website that was just for hookups. Completely fine. Completely fine. But if your intention when you're dating is that you want a real deep long-term relationship, this is not the approach. Never lead with your sensuality and sexuality with a man that you would like to have a long-term relationship with. I know there are stories out there where they started as a hookup and ended up into a long-term relationship. Those are rare occurrences. Men, if they get sex without commitment, there's a part of their brain that turns off. Oh, I don't need to do anything anymore. Because sex is kind of like a reward for men. If I get the reward without having to put any work in, I will not value that thing. I will not value the person that gave it to me. I will not value the relationship in which it happened in. Because I did not have to work for it. This is the same with all things. If you have never worked a day in your life, and you were just given $1 million, you would blow that $1 million within the span of 2 to 3 months. Because you don't know the value of $1 million because you did not work for that $1 million. You didn't work service jobs. You didn't work a 9 to 5. You didn't have to work at jobs you hated just to get by. So you don't know the value of money. This is the same thing. The man can't know the value of the woman he's with if he's just freely given sex without having to commit, without having to put time and effort and investment. So do not lead with sexuality and sensuality. That is a number one mistake that's going to lead a man to immediately signal to himself, yeah, she's in the friends with benefits category, and if I play my cards right, I can keep her in the gray zone where I can continue to have sex with her over time without ever having to fully commit to her. I can be hot and cold, I can be wishy-washy, I can communicate whenever I want, but I can still get the perks of the relationship without being in a relationship with her. Now, the second thing is, this is what leads men to realize that you're a headache and this is not worth their time and investment, is if you are one of those people that like to be bold and be upfront and like to lead with this boss girl energy. The boss girl energy works in your work life. It will not work with men. Men do not like that. Men do not like women that try to speak to them as if she's their CEO or their manager. Don't bring the communication style from your work life into your love life. It will not work with men. Men do not like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to be bossing them around. You're going to be telling them what they should and should not be doing. You're going to be trying to take control and charge of every situation. And you're also going to be making demands of them. Men that value themselves, have self-respect, and are also very masculine themselves, this will not attract them. They're looking for opposites. They're looking for the dance of polarity to feel like there's a magnetic pull to this woman. If he's masculine and you're masculine, there's a clash. A man knows that there's going to be a clash between both of your egos and both of your masculine modes of relating and taking control and operating. This is why men want feminine women, because it's the opposites that are bringing each other together, because we want the polarity. I love what you represent. It's the softness, it's the femininity, it's the care, the gentleness and tenderness that as a man, I can't embody and display as often as you can, because my work requires me to be something else. My life requires me to be something else. My family needs me to be stronger. My family needs me to be more stable and grounded. That whole boss girl, I'm hyper independent, I don't need a man energy. Men are going to see that from a mile away within the first interaction. This is how they know this is not a woman I'm going to categorize as somebody that I need to build with, someone that I need to invest and build with. Just not. Any wise man with experience of dating these kind of women already know where that door leads to. The third thing you should not do is suppress your needs. If a man is keeping you in the gray zone, it's because you're letting him. You are letting him keep you in the gray zone because you're not speaking up. Why aren't you voicing your needs? Why aren't you voicing your physical boundaries? That you're not okay with the current setup of the relationship. Most oftentimes, even in my own experience, I kept the dynamic the same exact way that I liked it because the woman didn't object. Even when you object, you don't maintain the boundary. Men are going to anticipate that you're going to push back. But that doesn't matter if your actions tell a different story. If you push back and say, I'm not okay with this, I'm done with this, and then he texts you late at night, are you up? And you respond and you show up to his place, you are telling a different story. Your words mean nothing. They mean nothing. Your no means nothing. If you're saying yes to his bids for connection, this is how he wants to connect. He doesn't care about how you want to connect. He wants to connect on his terms. If you're saying yes to that every time, you're not speaking up, you're setting boundaries, but you're not following through on them, you're telling him a whole different story. And that story is, you're okay with being in the gray zone. So why do you think that he would be ready to commit to you? You're not holding him to a high standard of integrity, of responsibility, and of commitment. You aren't holding him to that. So if you aren't, then he's not going to hold himself to that. If this is part of your behavior with men, own that. You can blame men all day, but it will not fix your relationships. It will not fix your dating situation. You are the one that's putting yourself in these situations. And you're not doing the uncomfortable work and have the uncomfortable conversations to take yourself out of it. Now, the fourth and last thing you shouldn't do is to be overly available. Being overly available means that when he texts you and says, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Are you down to come by? Are you down to have dinner? Are you down to Netflix and chill? You drop whatever you have going on and you go see him. That is not a good thing. And I'll tell you why it's not a good thing. Because a man won't value your time. You see, commitment is an investment of time. So if you don't respect your own time, a man is not going to respect yours. He doesn't care if you guys been in a situationship for 6-7 months. Yes, that's your time. But the thing is, you've already told him you don't value your time. So it's okay for him to string you along for as long as he wants. Because you don't value your time. You're always available when he needs you to be. And a woman that's overly available is hard to respect as well. Because when he texts you and you immediately text back, when he tells you, come here and let's do this, and you show up every time, how is a man going to respect you? How is he going to respect you? You either don't have anything going on for yourself, or he's your only option, or you're just so desperate for his love, his affection, and his attention that you're willing to let everything else fall by the wayside just so you can spend time with him. No man can respect that. And he's going to test this if you value your time and you respect your time, and you're holding him to the standard of respecting your time as well, by randomly texting you, telling you to show up, and doing last minute calls and texts and dates. When a man respects your time, he makes reservations because he sees you as valuable, and he values your time because he values your time, and he sees you as a high quality woman. High quality restaurants require reservations. You can't just walk into a restaurant and say, hey, I want that table for two right now. You can't do that. So men operate the same way. When they're with a woman, they value. But again, part of them valuing that woman's time is because of what she's displaying, and they're responding to it. If she's overly available, she's responding to everything at the drop of a hat, no matter what's going on in her work life, her business, her friendships. He's going to take that as, oh, okay, this is a woman whose time I do not have to respect. So respect your time. I don't care if you're unemployed or you have nothing going on for yourself. Still make sure he's setting up some kind of reservation. He's blocking time to see you, blocking time to call you. You're training him. Men are training you as well. We're all training each other. Now you have to take ownership over your behaviors. What are your behaviors communicating to a man? He's responding to that. Throughout this video, I wanted to make sure you understand what men respond well to and what they don't. So if any of this resonated, or you have a takeaway or a reflection, feel free to share it in the comments. So if you are in a space right now where you want to attract a high quality man and build a meaningful and deep relationship, but you are trying to figure out how to rewire your approach to dating, reach out and let's get on a dating transformation call. Use this call to build a roadmap for you and to get clear on your goals and what's holding you back. Like, what's really holding you back? What are those emotional blocks? What are those doubts and insecurities and the lack of self-trust that's leading you to settle for less than you deserve when it comes to dating? If any of that interests you, use the link in the description of this video to hop on a call with me. Until then, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one.